you know, the sad thing is like I remember being as a kid, seeing some of this around me and just not really. I want to say accepting it, but I just saw it around me and just thought to myself, it doesn't pertain to me because I'm not getting victimized or it's not me being attacked because I would have defended myself. And but I think that's just the mentality we had growing up, you know. And one of the things I learned as when I got older was empathy or caring for other people who aren't you. And I started to realize that not everything that happens has to be about you for you to want to do something different about it. I remember my friend, he said the only reason why you're caring about it now is because you're now seeing it. But I think it was worse than that because I did see it and I just didn't fucking care because I thought I was better than all these other people who were getting attacked. Because I had a better job.
We internalize that. Like,
Yeah.
It's like society is always presenting these ideas, and even when you don't, and also you don't always recognize something as being like a bias because you just think it's like.
Well, I think I did.
Like, I don't know.
I think I did recognize it, but it's more like, it was more, I don't know, like I told this to Laura many times, like in between the ages of like 17 and 25, I was on a fucking high one, man. Like I thought my dick was huge, man. Like fucking, I just swung it everywhere. And it's just like, for me, I just didn't think it mattered to me. And I just thought I was better than the people being attacked. I don't know if that makes sense because I've always I've always envisioned myself joining the masses and not being a part of the group that's outside. Did I phrase that right?
No, I see what you're saying, Eric. Basically,
it was like I was basically riding this American dream, and I thought the harder I rode the dream, the more easier or more ease of access I would have to be inside this select whatever America I thought was going to be. Until as I got closer to seeing what it really was, that was when like, oh shit, this is not what I want. This is actually not right. And I think as I got older, I think that's one of the things I started to realize was like, shit, maybe what we learned as kids were just fucking lies. You know, like what was this American dream? What is this model minority? What is reality? What is life? I'm not fucking meme. What is life with that cat?
Well, it goes back to Eric. What is history? It's who wrote it, right? Writing history. Who's leaving certain things out? What is their agenda that are writing the history books that teach the youth today?
Oh. Yeah, who is in power and who's benefiting from like that story?
Well, it's like my wife, she's a teacher, and when she teaches the poor side of school, which is a lot of immigrant families and stuff like that. And when she teaches, here is Mexico before the major revolution, and she shows Mexico going all the way up the West Coast, and the shock of these kids. Wait, this was Mexico at one point, like California, right? Mexico, but yet we're told that we need to leave. Like that shock and everything like that. And it's like, it's something that's really skipped over for the most part. So it goes back to kind of like Eric, how you were saying, it's like you just kind of accepted it. Like kind of like how we accepted being a Mexican family. It was like, okay, well, we're just looked down upon. That's basically it. We're just going to be field hands and stuff like that for the rest of our lives. But it's like our parents are like, no, you're much more than that, basically. It's just that next generation. And I agree with you. It's when you get older, you definitely become more empathetic towards others because you have more experiences under your belt and you know what it's like to be in those type of circumstances.
Yeah, I think when you get older too, you start to realize that the world's bigger than California. The world's bigger than America. The world's bigger than Earth. There's a whole universe out there. Unless you never left the Central Valley, then you're kind of fucked. But anyways, like, but it's like I think, yeah, when you get older, you start to realize how small your life really is in comparison to what has happened around you, you know, like, and obviously history is one of the things that you have to learn to realize this too, because America's only like what, 230 years old or something?
We're at least 250.
Maybe 250 compared to like the rest of the world.
Like, who the fuck do we think we are?
Right. Well, yeah,
You
and
know?
that's funny too. Like, literally, like, I mean, obviously, there's Native Americans here, so we weren't like Native Americans were well established.
Columbus
before
Day, dude. We still had
religion
Columbus
got
Day
here.
in until like fucking a few years ago.
Yeah, well, it was like that's what's so funny. Like the whole anti-immigration and the xenophobia thing is so interesting to me because it was like founded by immigrants, and it's
I know.
like literally if you're like a white person, you're like a descendant
You're
of
an
an immigrant, like or an immigrant yourself. Like there weren't white people here originally, so like
There weren't.
yeah,
There's a
so
whole
like
the fucking Mayflower, man.
yeah, so that mentality of like oh people coming and stealing our stuff, it's like we did like
Yeah.
because like are you worried about that because your ancestors legit did that like my ancestor like straight up like it just
Yes.
so ironic and like especially yeah here in California the anti like especially since Trump like the anti Mexico thing and like Mexican thing has been so interesting to me because California is so like rich with Mexican culture like we were part of Mexico so how can you like be a Californian and hate on Mexican culture because like especially in the Central Valley like I mean I feel so like spoiled by getting to like be around so much Mexican culture and have Mexican
Right?
like how I don't understand that here
I know.
we're against like I don't know there oh like I feel like I've talked about this before at some point probably because when Trump made the comment about the whole like shithole countries when he was referring to Haiti, I was in this intercultural communications class and I had this Haitian guy in my class and it was like literally the next day and he like came and like spoke about Haiti and like about like his culture and about how beautiful and like wonderful it is and like yes that there are certain problems but like here's why and what France had done and like what all these different like influences had been and like how they were such an interesting revolution and yet how they were like forced to pay for that and like just there's a reason why that things are shitty there and it's not because of Haiti and it's not because of the Haitians it's because of like the European influence and like influence is a very nice way to say it like but the
Yeah.
problems that were like caused there and so it's so funny that like Trump this white/orange man is like out there hating like on these people who really didn't have anything to do with like the problems that were there they're just like trying to survive and trying to like thrive on this and like I don't know like I just don't but I also think that like the standards of whiteness are really interesting of like even like white people like can't hold up to most of those standards and yet then they're forcing like every like so like I have like a bias towards like I've studied stuff and like worked a little bit in the medical field and like the medical field is super interesting with that because you'd think that the medical field everyone's there trying to help people and do better but like there's so much that was literally founded on these white old rich male like doctors that were like the only people allowed to get educated back in the day the only people allowed to like practice back in the day and they based everything on standards that fit them ignoring the fact that there's a bunch of different body types that there's a bunch of different like health situations and that's why if you look into it and like different races and different cultures they have like in theory have more health problems but not really they have more health problems they just aren't cared for as well because like the standards and stuff don't fit them or there's like this assumption that like women and different people of color have like a higher pain tolerance than like the average person even though like we all have like a similar pain tolerance it's just like literally not catered to in the way like of whiteness is like there's so much crazy stuff like honestly it's like it's really sad and it's really like it's a heartache and a headache just like you guys got to look into it it's freaking crazy
Yeah,
like,
you guys ever read that book? No, I didn't read it. I heard about it. It was called The Bell Jar or Bell Curve. Bell Curve. Not
Bell Jar. That's Sylvia
yeah,
Plath.
that's Sylvia Plath. No, The Bell Curve. The Bell Curve was written by this doctor or this scientist or fucking whatever he is. So she was a poet,
Yeah.
and she accompanied this scientist who wrote this book called The Bell Curve. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's called The Bell Curve, where it talks about and analyzed all the different races in the world and talked about why white people are the best due to biology.
So
And
statistical analysis about why white people are the best.
Yeah, they said black people were too stupid, Asian people were too smart, and those are the only races I cared about. I forgot about what he said about other people, but I mean, I'm definitely gonna put the facts up if I'm wrong. But it's called the bell curve.
Look that up. Is it okay? There's somebody in one of my anthropology classes or something. We talked about this guy. I can't remember the name, but he was what was that? There's like an old timey. It was like considered a form of science. It's not like there's no real science behind it. It was just like stupid old timey original doctors like getting their start, and they were like measuring people's heads, and they were trying to like determine like their like basically their mental worth and like their capabilities through these like very crude, totally inaccurate stuff. And it was basically, instead of like them testing things to prove a theory, they were like deciding on a theory and like looking for evidence to prove it. You know what I mean? Like, and so they were going around like trying to like prove kind of like, I wonder if it's like a similar.
Is this the same thing?
I'm curious because that's what I'm wondering. Like I might need to Google it. There was like one of my, I don't know if it was my anthropology or sociology.
Raceology?
It took me so long to get through school, you guys. Like I took so many classes. It's very hard to keep them straight these days. But there was one that was, we talked about this, of just this guy who was just an asshole and went around trying to prove that he was like great. And in trying to prove his own greatness, he ended up just destroying like so many people's like, you know, ideas of themselves, because like I don't know, that's what's like so interesting about all the studies and all the sciences. If you look back on it, like there's so many great things that have come out of them eventually, but there's so many like terrible starts, like whether it's psychology or anthropology or sociology or psychology, some really, really messed up stuff of these like kind of evil people just like trying to like mess with other people. And like, dude, even shoot, what's the word? What's it called when they're trying eugenics?
Oh, the study of race.
Yeah, well, the I don't study is a nice word. It's like the
cleansing a race.
I was gonna say they're like manipulating. It was literally the Nazis got their start. Did you know that like some of the original eugenics stuff, ironically, started in like the Bay Area? It was these like scientists in like America that basically took it out on like Latin Americans. I don't know if it was just Mexico or like South America, but they literally like illegally and without telling them sterilized a bunch of women, like so that they wouldn't make more babies of this specific race. I think I don't know if it was from Mexico or somewhere in South America, but they were like attacking like targeting Latinos or Latinas, I guess, because it was all mostly women. And it's so messed up. And like literally freaking Nazis like took that info and ran.
We're like, that's a good idea.
Right? Like legit, like straight up, like, I mean, obviously we all know how bad the Nazis are, but like we kind of like don't talk about as much like the really dark stuff that has happened right here in the home of the free, like land of the brave. And like it's crazy because it's so yeah, both like women and people of color have been attacked so much throughout the years, and there's so many terrible things that are going on still to this day. But like those kind of roots that were like started like right here in our like, you know, cultural mixing pot. And like
I remember like I'm glad that I had Mr. Fuller, because he taught us about the Tesla stuff.
Oh, the like OG Tesla.
It's called Tesla, right? I'm not just fucking.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was like Tesla. I was waiting for correct me. And because you know he was a great storyteller, so he taught us about that. And I had that AP Psych teacher. It wasn't Mr.
I had him too.
It was Mr.
I forgot his name.
I had him for AP Psych, and he taught us about I'm pretty sure he taught us about the syphilis thing in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it Chicago?
I think so.
Where they told African American males that they were being treated for syphilis, but they weren't. They were getting placebos so they can study the virus on the human body.
so they could see how it like they degenerated, like how the disease affected them and how basically it killed them. Like, but they
What the fuck?
dude, yeah. And there's
What
like
a
that one
fucking nightmare.
dude, the one lady.
Did you guys know about this? Juju and Brooke?
No,
You guys know about the syphilis study?
dude.
No.
I don't know the syphilis story.
Dude, the
Dude,
syphilis
it's
study.
crazy.
You guys, that's why Black people don't really want the vaccine because they fucking kind of went through some shit with the whole
Well,
syphilis thing.
Do you know that
Going
one
back
lady
to-
too? Like, there's the one lady. They literally still to this day, her cells are still used in so many studies.
Yes,
yeah.
that I've heard of.
Yeah,
That I've heard
this one woman, she was Black woman who was literally, they took her cells were like regenerating in a way that was like not normal. They did not save her. They took her cells, without like telling her that they were taking it for like a scientific study. To this day, her stuff is still used and has made so much money for so many people because so many studies and so many medicines and things have been like built off of her tissue. And they did not tell her. They did not tell her family. This woman was never like benefited from this. Her family never benefited from this. And to this day, her stuff is still being used. Like her body tissue is still like out there being used in scientific studies and making people money. And no, like her family and herself has never had any kind of benefit, whether monetary or like actual help for like her own like issues. And yeah,
It's Henrietta.
that sounds right. I'm so bad
Fuck,
with
I'm
this.
so embarrassed.
I know.
I should
really-
fucking know this.
I know like all these like stories, and I'm so bad with like the legit like the detailed like the names.
I don't want to say it wrong. I know her first name's Henrietta.
I'm
I
gonna
think I
Google
know
it.
her last name, but I'm afraid to say it because I'm afraid of being wrong. I'm going to tell you if I'm right.
Well,
I
that's
won't
what
cheat.
Googling it.
that's what.
Julian, what were you gonna say?
That was an edit
No.
support.
I was just gonna
Lax!
say,
I was right. Fuck. Sorry.
Wait, what was it?
Lax.
Black.
I fucking knew it. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, Julian, what's
Henrietta.
up?
no, I was just gonna say it makes like based off of these stories, it makes sense why like my older relatives will not go to the doctors.
Yeah,
They will just, and that's why they're like some of them get stage 4 cancer by the time they go, where it's like so bad. It's just because at the end of the day, it's like we're guinea pigs.
yeah,
It's it on, and that makes sense why a lot of minorities. And it also makes sense, probably Eric, why whenever we type something into WebMD, it's always cancer or death. Like we don't
Yeah,
dude,
get
yeah.
cancer.
it was like there should be like 2 questions WebMD gives you: Are you white or not white? If you're not white, you're just dead.
Dude, I don't know.
Cause of
WebMD
death,
says
cancer,
everyone's gonna
cancer or bullets. It's gonna be one of those.
Oof.
die. I mean, that's all the valley, right? Like you could be any color in the valley and it be cancer.
This valley's cancerous.